Alright, next radio we're going to do here. This is an old early 1930s Mantle radio. These things were made narrow so that they could sit on a fireplace mantle. And this one's in pretty rough shape. Its box is completely solid. That's one thing good. Hasn't been in the water. But the finish itself has yellowed and become atrocious looking. So we'll refinish the box. Now, the radio itself is very primitive design. It's a series string radio. 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 5 tubes. Has the old-fashioned dynamic speaker. The speaker has a little hole in it right here from heat. It comes from heat from that one tube that sits there. We'll spray that and we'll armor it up. It'll be okay. Ohmmetering it, both the field coil and the transformer are good. The wiring is shot. Okay. The line cord is completely shot. This is one of those resistive line cords. It has an extra wire in it that is a resistor that serves to drop the line voltage to run the filaments. However, this line cord, we can see that when we bend it a little bit, bare wire is exposed. It just, the stuff is just crumbling. You wouldn't dare use this in reality. So what we'll do, we're going to just cut that off of there because we're not going to put dangerous stuff like that. Now this plug itself is worth quite a bit of money. This is an antique plug. Line cord goes in the trash. But the plug itself is a very nice plug. Okay, now let's get the tubes out of it because we're going to have to sandblast the chassis and clean it. So, okay. We got common tubes. They're common tubes, nothing expensive about them or rare. Missing 3 tubes, but they are cheap tubes. They're 43, no doubt. That's 43, I don't know. Okay. Got some paper over that. I'm just going to pull off there. It is dilapidated. Looks better without it, and we'll sandblast it up and make it look very pretty. Then when we sandblast the chassis, it'll take all this crud off of it and leave it shiny metal, and then we'll lacquer it, and it'll be a beautiful chassis. Okay? Now, we can't work on it with that speaker hanging there. We also have to replace these wires. So the first thing I'm going to do is label them up. Okay. I'm just going to take a piece of paper and I'm going to write down the terminals they go to. That's very nice the way they put this terminal strip up here. Sometimes they run the wires down into the chassis. Oh God, it's a nightmare to trace them out. Okay, these have to be replaced. We'll do that later. Okay. Underneath, the radio has not been touched. It's completely original. And we'll have to replace all those capacitors. Some of them are in cute little cardboard boxes like that. But hopefully all the coils are good. We take a meter here very quickly and measure these coils. If it has bad coils, then it's probably not worth fixing. It's a $100 radio. Even fully restored, it's only going to bring $150 on eBay. Let's see. Good one. Okay, those two are good. Alright, got continuity there and there. So all of the coils are good. I got one more right here. Uh-oh. Well, it doesn't mean anything. Let's see. Okay, got it on that one. Now, usually the first thing we do is take it out and sandblast it, but it's late at night right now, so I don't feel like going out there and setting up the sandblasting equipment. So I guess we could get started at the capacitors. Something to test is this volume control. I'm going to just put the meter on it. It's a little scratchy, but it will work. It's in good shape. Now, these are the electrolytics. It's 20 microfarad, 220 volts, so it's just a standard rectifier. There's no model or any kind of information on the radio, so it's completely unknown as to the make, model, not any kind of manufacturer. It's just absolutely lost in time. So I have to work blind on it without a schematic. Alright, first one to do, let's get this big one out of the way here. One goes to the chassis and the other goes to this point here through something. There's something inside this piece of tubing. Probably a resistor. Aha! A resistor. Okay. Alright, so one capacitor to ground and the other one to this point here. Okay, that is a it looks like it says 0.1 at 1,000 volts. This is interesting. This is a dual capacitor. It has a capacitor from here to here and a capacitor from here to here. It looks like it says 0.1 at 400 volts. Okay, that means a 0.1 here, 0.1 there at 400 volts. Now, since we have nice little mini capacitors, we don't have as much trouble. Okay, so we're going to go across here with one of them. Not across there. Oops, I almost made a mistake. One of them goes to ground. Okay. And one of them goes to this wire. Okay, so I have to go. Now there's a resistor right there. This is one of those resistors that's a bunch of wire spiraled around cloth in. It's got some resistance. Looks like it's good. Okay, this resistor is too long, so I'm going to remove that. Now that we have small capacitors, we don't need this much wire up here. Okay. All right, I'll do a few more things. While the camera was cooling off, I put in the line cord and finished these two capacitors. Okay, now we're going to put in the filter capacitors. Okay. One of them goes from here to here. Ooh, some kind of fumes. Woo! Boy, some kind of fumes came off of that when I heated it. Woo! All right. Now, the second one. Bus wire. Very good. All right. We got another double capacitor. This is another one of those double capacitors, okay? We've got one end over here. One end to here. And then the center goes to there. Okay, and this one says .006. Ah, no. 3 O's and a 17. That's 170 picofarads on this side over here, and a 006 over here. All right. So we got to watch out for that. Sometimes they put different ones in there. They put the marking on this end for between here and here, and the marking on this end between here and here. So you got to keep an eye on that, because sometimes they have only a single marking. If there's only one marking on the capacitor, it means the two are equal. But if they have a marking on both ends, they're different. And this one has 3 O's and a 17 on that end, and a 006 on this end. Okay. That gets that one taken care of. 2 condensers there, and then one big gigantic box condenser here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these out of the way so I can get that box condenser out of there. Okay. Just tape out of here. Okay. Okay, and that is 0.25 at 200. Okay. First thing I got to do is get this box out of here. Okay, I'm going to the 1, 2, 3, 4th terminal over. Okay. And that is a 12 microfarad. Okay. Now I'm saving these because if I build a radio, what I do is very carefully cut these boxes open and put a modern capacitor in them. This radio isn't worth doing that to, so I'm not going to do it. But I'll save these capacitors for when I do a really high quality radio, high-end radio. So I need a 12 mic between there and there. Just through chance, I had a 12 microfarad. Look at that little thing. Okay. Push that out of the way there. That's so small compared to the other one. Okay, now this one here, between here and here, .500 picofarads, 0.0005, that's 500 picofarads. Okay, what we'll do, we're going to use a mica in place of that. Let's see, we'll find us a mica 500. Okay, that's a 100. Let's see, 500. To measure these, you got an arrow on it. So you start with the second one in and count. 1, 2, and go around the corner to the third. So that's 1, 0, and then 3 zeros, 10,000. That's 0.01 because it's in picofarads. 300. Another one. Okay. This one here, the arrow, that's crazy. You go toward, okay, this is completely different. It's 300, I'm sure. Okay. On this one, the symbol is it has a circle, a line with a dot. Okay, then you have your colors. So you go, the arrow is equivalent to following the line to the dot. In other words, that's the same as going like that. So you would take first one you throw away always, and then you have 3, 3, and then the next one down was a an orange, which is 3. So it's 33,000, which is 3,300 picofarads. Okay, 30. If you've only got 3 dots, you don't throw anything away. It's a 2, a 5, 0, 250 pico. Half of what we need. We need a 500. Okay. This one will do. Okay, that looks very good. That takes care of replacing all the capacitors. Okay? That's it. There's no more. Now, we'll go through and we'll make a quick ohmmeter check of the resistors. These are those dog bone resistors, which can change value. Okay, so we'll go ahead and make a quick check of these. Okay, this one's 40K. I'm going to just go here. Okay, that's measuring 70K. It should be 40K. Alright, this is 3 megs, so we'll measure it. Now that one looks good. Okay. Any more? Here's one right here. I have no idea what the value. Okay, that's a 500K. That one's okay. It's high. It's reading about 800K instead of 500, but that's still okay. You can have a 2-to-1 difference, and it'll be okay. Okay, here's 300. That one's only 400, 300, 400. That's completely okay. Not that many resistors in here. Okay, that's it. This one resistor here, that should be 40, and we're reading 60. That's not enough off to matter. Okay? Now, this is our filament wire. We're going to get after that. But the next thing to do is to sandblast the chassis and get it cleaned up. Okay, we're just going to do a light sandblasting on the chassis. We're not going to overdo it. We just want to lightly sandblast. Okay, next we're just going to take the air hose and we're going to blow all the sand off of it. Make sure there's no sand left anywhere. Okay, now to keep the tube sockets themselves from getting full of spray, I'm going to place these washers that are the diameter of the tube sockets over the tube socket. This will keep the spray from going down in the holes and causing trouble on the contacts. We don't want that to happen, so we put a washer on each one of them. Okay, now we're going to just take plain lacquer. I'm actually going to use clear coat on this one because it doesn't have to be the urethane. This clear coat stuff dries a lot quicker than the urethane. Urethane takes 24 hours, but this Rust-Oleum specialty lacquer, they call it, just clear lacquer, dries in about 2 hours. So I'm just going to lightly spray the chassis with that. Not going to overdo it. We just want to stop the rust. Not getting it on the capacitor. This also makes the chassis look really nice too. Okay, now I'm gonna put it on the top of the capacitor. But I don't want to put it on the plates of the capacitor. That causes trouble. All right. That looks really nice. I'm going to go around the front here. I don't care about the washers anymore, so they can fall off of there. I'm just going to lightly do the front. Okay. Little transformer there. Okay, now we'll let that dry, and then we'll be ready to continue with the restoration. Okay, we've got one more left right here, and we'll have all the capacitors changed out. Okay, this is another double. All the ones that have this metal strap in the middle that's grounded are dual capacitors. That means we've got a capacitor from the end to the center, from the end to the center. Now, this is something you can remember when you find these capacitors. It's not just a band holding a single capacitor. Okay, now what we have to do, we'll scrape it. Okay, that was in there like that. So this one is an 003, 003. Okay, looking at the location of the capacitor, this is the antenna input coupling capacitor. So we're just going to connect it inside. Instead of putting it out here, we'll put it inside this time. It would be a little bit cleaner. A lot smaller capacitor physically. Now for our antenna, I'm just going to stick it right here, and got a little washer here. Okay, that'll keep it from jerking. Okay, I can cut, you can't see with this in any way, so I'm going to insulate it. Put tubing over it, and that way it isn't likely to get onto anything. Okay. That will do. Okay. All right, that gets our antenna. All right, the next thing that we have to do is replace the wires on the speaker. Okay, these wires are just completely junk. Okay, we can't get to them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut them off. Okay. Now, the speaker has got some trouble. It's okay, but there's a little bit, I think the heat from the tubes got to it or something like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to fix that. Okay, to fix that, we use contact cement. Now, this is not the cheap water stuff. This is the good oil-based stuff. Okay. Now, we're just going to take this glue and we're going to paint that entire cone. Is this in the camera? Looks good. Okay. We're going to paint this entire cone. This is rubber cement, so it remains flexible after it's dry. Don't use glue that hardens. You don't want hard, otherwise the speaker will it'll sound awful. But by using this glue, it remains completely flexible after it's hardened, and this strengthens the cone tremendously, and yet does not affect the flexibility of it at all. Now, the area where it's screwed up, we're just going to paint from the back. It's on the back here. Okay, now we're going to let that dry, and that speaker will be good as new. I'll take this out and clean it with some acetone. Alright, now the next thing that we have to do, remember this was a resistor line cord type radio, so we have to put a resistor in here in order to drop the filament voltage. Okay, we've got a 43. Okay, that has a filament voltage. Let's see, we got a 43, a 6B7. Okay, 6A7, 78, and a 25Z5. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll have to make up the difference between the filament voltage for those tubes and the 120 volts of the line. Okay, 68 volts. Okay. So our total filament voltage here is 68 volts. Okay, we have 120 volts minus 68, and so we have to get rid of 62 volts. Now, some people erroneously put a diode in series with the line, and that has an effective 50% ripple rate of half. So you kind of think, well, it drops the voltage in half, that should be okay. Not. The problem with the diode is that there's no inrush current limiting. When the tubes are cold, they don't have this voltage across them. They have much lower. The resistance is like 1/5 of what it is when the tubes are hot. So if you don't have enough resistance to limit the line current, you can have 4 or 5 amps going through these tubes, that first inrush current. This will invariably cause these tubes to have a very short life. You may get away with it for a few times, turning the radio on, maybe 5 or 10 times, but then all of a sudden you'll turn it on and you'll see this little flash in one of the tubes, and the filament will burn out, and that's the end of it, because you don't have an inrush current limit. Okay, so using a diode is not permissible. Some people who don't have good theory will do it, but we know better. We know better here. Okay, the next thing that we have to do on this thing is get our filaments lit. Alright, I've got the 200 ohm dropping resistor here, and we'll put a piece of mica sheet between it and the chassis so heat from the resistor doesn't heat up the chassis and cause our components to have shorter lifespan. It didn't turn. Okay. We'll get some more Teflon wire and we'll just string her down in here, and that's got it. Now, if I measure across the plug, I should see the filament. It's there. And if I turn it off, it disappears. Okay. Okay. It should work. Alright, let's see what happens. Alright, light bulb came on. Filaments are lighting. That looks good. Alrighty. It's in good shape. Alright, now. Paper withdrawing goes like that. Okay, the field is going to be the orange and the green. Okay, it goes to the outside one. Okay, this. Alright, the other two will go to the other one. Alright, the chances of hearing anything out of this are, you know, 1 in 1,000. Alright, here goes. Okay. Tubes are lighting up. Okay, we've got to find out why this thing isn't working. Okay, we're going to go through. We got a little bit of audio on it. Okay, I'm going to turn it on, let it warm up. First thing we're going to check to see if the oscillator is operating in the radio. To do that, we have the scope going. Let's see if we have oscillator. Okay. And we do. Okay, so the oscillator's working, so that means that we should get signal through the converter. Okay, after poking around in it, I found that we're missing a capacitor right here. that capacitor was not on there. And that was from the ground end of the input coil to ground. So with that out of there, there was no circuit for the antenna. Now let's look on the plate of the audio tube and see what we get. That's the grid. We don't get much voltage gain, but the power gain is a lot. But that's working fine. Okay, we're getting 50 volts, 80 volts peak to peak. But we're not getting anything in the speaker. So something is wrong after. The radio itself is working fine. Alright. Well, that was a pretty good one. There's a humbucking wire coil on here. And some idiot before had connected the humbucking wire and the speaker cone, the coil, voice coil, in parallel. Oh my God! But this speaker it's pretty crappy. Okay, I got another speaker here. I'm going to try hooking onto it. And we'll see if a better speaker works. Because it looks like that speaker's pretty much worn out. Okay.
Christian Catholic, a very religious and probably a very healthy person. I don't know that much about her personal life, but I would be willing to bet that
we got a little bit of muffledness there.
As a devout Catholic, probably has not spent a lot of time boozing and using and abusing.
Clearly that speaker's shot. Okay, we'll have to arrange for this speaker to be used.
As long as we're
that means getting rid of the field coil. Alright, got the new speaker in there.
I've been listening a long time. Every time the Shaw's has been sitting right there on the corner of what?
Okie doke. That's going to do it. Got noise in here because we got these stupid LED lights that generate noise, the little power supplies in them, and I got CFC lights up on the top. I mean, all that stuff generates that buzzing noise. Now what we're going to do is put the radio back in the cabinet and make it look good. Okay, we'll put these bezels on. Boy, those turned out beautifully. Alright, this one goes here. Now these nails, these little bitty tacks, feel a little loose in the holes. Now, when they feel loose in the holes, take just a drop of super glue and just put it on each hole. Just put one little drop on each hole. Okay? Then, when you put these little brads back in, the super glue will keep them from backing out. Okay. Perfect. Alright, got a nice piece of grill cloth here, and we will stick that in there. Now I'm going to put a piece of paper down underneath, and I'm going to spray that with the spray glue. Okay, we just put some spray glue in there and then stuck it down, and there's our grill cloth. That looks really great. Okay, next, what we do is we take a torch, we heat a nail red hot, and we go through each of the screw holes and the little hole here where the pilot light shows through. Okay. What we do to open those holes up, the nail, it opens the hole up perfectly without leaving any ragged string or anything to catch on the screw. Okay, then our little hole for our light bulb to shine through. Alright. Okay. And then stick the chassis of the speaker in there. Let's get these wires up. I don't know if this is going to fit. It's going to fit in here? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to have knobs that actually protrude into the cabinet. That thing looks beautiful. That's a beautiful radio. That's a beautiful radio. Okay, now, okay, here we have the knobs. What I've done is I've just turned the back of the knob off until we have this protruding, and now that goes up in there and nicely goes onto the shafts. Okay, we need little pointers. I've made those out of brass. They will fit in there like that. To hold those in there, we're going to just use a little JB weld. Okay, we just let that harden. I'm going to cut a piece of plastic rod that'll go up into there. Okay, about 390. It's about 400 plastic rod. That'll act as a light pipe to bring our pilot light out to the front. Okay, here we have our light pipe. It's just a little chunk of plastic I turned down to conduct the light. The light bulb's back about that far inside the radio. So this will go in there like that, and that'll bring that light out to the front. I need to glue it. I don't want it stuck in there yet. All right, excellent. Okay. All right, that gets the whole front of the radio. Now, I would guess the next thing that we want to do, the chassis of the radio is not directly hooked to the line. It goes through a 0.1 microfarad capacitor, but still you can get a pretty good wallop if you're barefoot on a cement floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a back that'll go on there. Not only that, this resistor, that sucker gets hot enough to burn somebody's finger. You get a little brat that puts their finger in there, they're going to get a burned finger. So we'll make us a nice plastic back, or not plastic, but cardboard back. I can see from the holes here there was one on there originally. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and put the back on it. Punch out these holes. All right, let's see. Ah, look at that.
Business and had a controversial ad campaign. And the company behind these Inspire brand is buying Resistors.com.
Stuck in traffic. We got it.
Woman in your life first thing between the years of Bill O'Brien. I just don't. Otherwise, I think they'd be experts.
We're cleared.
You're getting into this fall. Go to the one that
Look how beautiful that is.
business. Book now at Capacitor.com. AM 1070, the answer. June 6, 1941.
Isn't it gorgeous?
An historic battle for freedom. We'll honor those heroic days and the faithful warriors who fought on the beaches of Normandy next spring. And I hope you'll join me for a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Nice looking radio. Very nice looking radio.
Outstanding.
Okie doke, that's it. It's out of here.